From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Urban Outlook.
Hello and welcome to Urban Outlook. I'm April Eaton. Thank you so much for being with us today. National statistics reveal that 1 in 10 children will experience some form of sexual abuse by 18, and many cases will never be reported. Those kids simply don't tell. Many children are sexually abused by someone they know, in fact, an even scarier kind of fact to know. But there's a program in Middle Tennessee throughout this state called Our Kids, Inc. They've been working for the last 30 years to try to combat this issue, to try to help families, to try to help children know what to do, how to tell, and how to resolve the issues around what they faced. Welcome to our show, Sue Fort White, who is Our Kids, Inc. Executive Director, and Jill Howlett, Our Kids, Inc. social worker. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
You all have been around for 30 years. It's kind of unfortunate the reason that this all got started, but you have been helping children and families for 30 years who've had to deal with sexual abuse.
That's right. Our byline, April, is help, hope, and healing. So even though child sexual abuse is sometimes totally distressing and traumatic, they are still children. There's still love and goodness and protection, and the family and the child needs help, and they need medical evaluations and crisis counseling, and that's why Our Kids exists.
What prompted this program 30 years ago? If you can give us a little history lesson on Our Kids.
So the history is back in the mid-'80s, the law changed so that anyone who suspected a child being mistreated in any way, that they had to report it to authorities, and so Tennessee became a demand reporting state, and so when that happened, the referrals skyrocketed, and the Junior League, National General Hospital, and Vanderbilt came together to really look at what needed to happen, and the Junior League did a whole assessment of Nashville and really realized that one of the only social service agencies that didn't exist was a clinic that would be absolutely dedicated to evaluating child sexual abuse. And so Junior League, Vanderbilt, and National General Hospital created us 30 years ago, and we have grown organically as the need has grown for our services, and now we serve 47 counties in Middle Tennessee. We have, it's a multidisciplinary model. Jill Howlett is one of our social workers. We have nurse practitioners and social workers working as a team with each child and family. And it's remarkable. They also share on-call coverage, and you never see that anywhere. So the experts sharing call, working together, and our patient volume is, we evaluate over 800 children a year, and that makes Our Kids one of the largest clinics of our kind in the entire country. We're probably the 3rd or 4th largest clinic based on patient volume.
Wow. So how do families and children, more importantly, get to you? Are these situations where the case has been reported and it's come through the courts and the court recommends that the family comes for the child to get that service? Or are people finding you? Because you talk about growing organically. So how are they coming to you?
Yes, you wanna?
Sure. Most of our referrals come from the Department of Children's Services early on during an investigation. And then our next highest reporting agency is the police department of any jurisdiction that we work with. And then medical providers also send a lot of children to us. We've had a lot of families who say, I just Googled sexual assault medical examinations and they got us. And most of the time those are our main referral services. You don't have to be involved with DCS or the police to call our office. You can call for just advice. If you think something weird is happening or your child is having some behavior that's unusual, you're welcome to call and just ask to speak to a social worker, and we can talk with a family through that. Or or maybe set up an appointment if that's appropriate.
Just to help figure it out.
Sure.
It's also interesting that, Sue, that you said that after the law changed 30 years ago, the cases for reporting just skyrocketed,
Yes.
which means that they were happening all along,
Yes.
but nobody was talking about them.
Yes, and I think, April, that's a good point. I think that one of the things that is so complex and difficult about the issue of child sexual abuse is that 95% of the time the perpetrator is someone that's known and trusted and sometimes even loved by the child and the family. And so it's devastating to the non-offending caregiver. And the other thing that's really unique about our model is that I don't know of any other organization that has a full complement of social workers. So we have four full-time social workers. One of them is a bilingual, speaks Spanish, but we have a full complement of social workers because the appointment at our kids is not a 20-minute medical transaction. It's more of an intense encounter that lasts between an hour and a half and 3 or 4 hours, depending on whether the sexual assault just happened, the nature of it, what else is going on in the family. Because, the non-offending caregiver, it's difficult. You don't think that your father would do this to your 4-year-old little girl, or your brother, or the older cousin, or your new husband. You think you're starting your life over again, and then your 8-year-old comes and says, Bobby just did this, or he's been doing this to me and it's scaring me. So there's a lot of shame and guilt.
Yeah.
The non-offending caregiver feels shame and guilt because they think, I should have been able to protect. I should have seen it coming.
I exposed my child to this person.
But how would you know? How would you ever predict that would happen?
Right.
So it's very complex.
And then for the child that's the victim, they're even sort of hesitant to tell sometimes, correct?
Yes, and I'm going to let
absolutely
the social worker here.
It's more often than not, children don't tell right away. Even if their parents have said, if something happens, you tell me right away.
Yeah.
You run and kick and scream and come and tell me. Most of the time that doesn't happen.
Does it depend on what age that child is, or just across the board?
Across the board, most children do not tell. And some children don't tell until they're adults. And some people never tell. I think it's really, we really try to tell our kids, if something happens, come and tell me. And then our job as adults is to believe kids when they come and tell us that.
But there's a right and a wrong way to say that, as I've been learning from you experts here, because you don't just say, don't let anybody touch you in the wrong way. Why is that? Well,
you don't want to place the blame or the responsibility on the child to keep their body safe. You want to let children know, if someone touches you where they shouldn't touch you, you let me know. And you should talk to your children as soon as they are learning about body parts, what their body parts are. Just name them, whatever name that feels appropriate for your family, to name them and let them know. If anyone touches you there, come and let me know. Without any threats, without any kind of circumstances surrounding that, you come and let me know. And then as parents, it's your job to believe that, and to do everything that you can to help that child and find out exactly what's happening.
One of the things that we believe is that if parents can create a culture and an atmosphere in their home where they can say, we're on the same team, we love you, we're here for you. If anything scares you or confuses you, come and tell me. It'll be okay. And I think that a lot of times, well, what I sort of think is, safe adults don't ask children to keep secrets. Secrets are different than surprises. Safe adults don't ask children to keep secrets.
Back in the day, and I'm dating myself here, but I remember there used to be this puppet program in the school where they would talk about the good and bad touches with the puppets, right? In very young ages, teaching children about what to do, how to tell. I'm wondering, is that still happening where kids are getting education on this in a number of different areas and places that they're exposed to, or does it just have to come from the home because everybody's afraid to talk about
Sure.
it.
It is a scary subject for families to talk to, especially if you're uncomfortable talking about body parts. And that's okay. I still think you have to put the safety of your child first.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, there are programs that provide that for children. And some children don't know that what has happened to them is not okay. And that allows them the avenue to come and say, oh, by the way, this has been happening to me.
Well, one of the things I was going to tell you is out of over 800 children that we evaluate a year, historically about 65% of them are 7 years of age and younger.
Oh, wow.
So, and you know, so when you think about that, you don't, I mean, it's just, it is jarring. You know, it is jarring. And, you know, adults who need and want access to a child for their own sexual pleasure, they're not in it to hurt the child because they don't want to lose access to the child. But again, that's why it's such a complex issue.
Yeah. When we come back, let's talk a little bit more about some of the signs people should look for, and particularly some of the ways that you all are helping these children and these families through Our Kids. We'll be right back after this break.